Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Hello, hello. My name is Sandra. Welcome to my channel. This video is about The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. This is a Norse-inspired epic fantasy trilogy, the Bloodsworn Trilogy, that is coming out tomorrow, Tuesday, May 4th. I received a digital arc of this a couple of months ago, but I just now found the time to read it. It was so good. What is The Shadow of the Gods about? Essentially, this is 300 years after some epic battle took place within the gods' family. So you have Sneka, who is the father of the gods, and then he has like a number of children, and they're all represented by a different animal. Dragon, wolf, bear, badger, rat. There's all kinds of gods. I love god lore in my fantasy. It just zooms out and makes everything on such a grander scale, and I love that about it. I don't think I'm gonna be spoiling anything, but let me just read you, it's not really a prologue, but it's just what's included in the front matter of book 1. You can find this if you go to Amazon.com and look inside. You can see like the first 10% or something like that of the book. I think this is totally kosher to do. So let me go ahead and read that for you. All that you can see before you is Vigrid, the battle plain, the land of shattered realms, each step of land between the sea and those mountains and 100 leagues beyond them. That is where the gods fought and died, and Sneka was the father of them all. Some say the greatest of them. Thorkel grunted. Sneka was of course the biggest. He was the oldest, the father of the gods, eldest they called him. And he had grown monstrous huge, which you would too if you had eaten your fill each day since the world was born. But his children were not to be sniffed at either. Eagle, bear, wolf, dragon, a host of others. Kin fought kin, and Sneka was slain by his children, and he fell. In his death, the world was shattered, whole realms crushed, heaved into the air, the seas rushing in. Those mountains are all that is left of him, his bones now covered with the earth that he ruptured. This is a map here of this world of Vigrid, the battle plain. On here, I have marked where the 3 points of views, the 3 characters that we're going to follow throughout the story, where they're approximately located at the start of this book, just to give you a better sense of the scope of this book. So you have Orka. I feel like we've probably spent the most time with Orka. And Orka is a mother. She strikes me as being in her early mid-30s maybe. She has a son, I think, who is about 10 years old, and a husband named Thorkel. They don't really live in town around a bunch of other people. They kind of live out in the forest, like they have their own steading away from everybody, but they still have an obligation to the Jarl of the nearby town. So we follow Orka, and then the next point of view is of an older man, maybe 50 max is what he struck me as being. Varg is his name, and he is a servant, a thrall, and he is running away from, it's like his masters or people associated with his masters over something that happened with his sister. So he is on the run. And then there is the third point of view, another woman named Elvar, and she is probably in her 20s. She has found herself in this mercenary faction called the Battlegrim, and she has proven herself as a valuable warrior. She is just on a quest with them to retrieve a mother and husband and their child. And we don't really know why they're after these particular people, but they are. Out of the 3 point of views, Elvar was probably not my favorite just because of the people that she associates with. I didn't really agree with a lot of the things that they were doing because they were essentially selling people to the highest bidder, and that's not really my style in people that I really like to follow in a book. Elvar herself was a super interesting character. It's just I didn't like the company that she kept. That's a better way to put it. Me being a mom myself, my favorite point of view is probably Orka, the mom. She experiences all kinds of stuff that happens, and it just really hit home with me. If the same thing happened, I would have the same fury and anger and desperate sense of needing to take revenge. I don't want to give any away spoilers, so I was just really drawn to her character. I also really close second. I really loved Varg. I think he had one of the coolest character arcs in the book, just from where he begins and where he ends. Varg is like this servant who finds himself among a faction of warriors called the Bloodsworn. So basically this book is about 300 years after this epic battle of the gods. We meet these three very different points of view characters. They are located, starting in different locations across this map. And it was fun trying to figure out how they were all related. But it was really satisfying. And we started bridging those gaps and seeing how they all related to one another. So I thought that was done really, really well. I love the battle scenes. They were super cool in this book. John Gwynne, I'm not familiar with his Faithful and Fallen series, but I'm definitely going to read more of his work after this. I mean, I think the battle scenes were done really well. I was into the violence and the gore and just the speed. Like, everything seemed really cinematic. Like, I could absolutely see it playing out in my head clearly. The characterization that he had for the three different points of view, I was immediately attached to these people and cared about them and what they were experiencing and losing and what they were trying to accomplish. And then the world building itself, he doesn't just info dump you with paragraphs and pages of exposition. He has a way of writing it into the storyline. So I think everything is very much character and plot driven, and the world building just kind of happens all around that as the characters experience it. And I really like that. It makes for a seamless reading experience instead of just getting lost in all of the details of world building that other epic fantasy authors can tend to do. Yeah, I really like the writing in that sense. I did give the book a 4.5 out of 5 stars just because of like really, really personal nitpicks for me. I am not well versed in Old Norse alphabet or Norse mythology in general, and so I struggled with the names really hard. So even though we only have 3 main points of view characters, there was still a whole cast of characters, and they all have like the same hard consonants and stuff like that. The way that the book is written, you don't have the same character point of view in back-to-back chapters, and each chapter is not super long, 10 to 12 pages on average, so they're not long chapters at all. And so for me, just how my brain is wired, it was hard for me to keep who was who really straight because the names sounded or looked similar on the page because each chapter was not super long and you're constantly bouncing from head to head to head, from chapter to chapter. It was just really hard for me to reorient myself and calibrate and try to recall everything that had just happened. That's just a me thing. I think most people that are into Norse epic fantasy would give this 5 stars hands down. And it is a really amazing book. But just to give you a little taste, so you have Orka and Varg and Elvar. You have Thorkel, Rika, Verk, Vol, Einar, Forvik, Svik, Sulik, Skalk, Sigrun, Syra, Glornir, Rokia, Jarloger, Dermir, Gwathvar. I'm sure I butchered all of those names. It was just difficult for me to keep them straight and remember, what was happening from character to character. In terms of like the god lore, I love god lore. Like either you like it or you hate it. I'm one of those people, I prefer having god lore in fantasy. Like I said, I feel like it does something, it puts everything on a grander, more epic scale, and I love that. The magic system is all tied to the gods, so even though the gods have been dead for 3 centuries, you still have men and women who are still presenting different abilities, whether it's just physical brawn or speed, dexterity, whatever it is, their senses. You have hound thralls that are able to kind of sniff out tracks and things like that. This select group of men and women who present these abilities that the gods have, and they're called the Tainted. They're basically descendants of the gods in one form or the other, and they could be the eagle god, bear god, dragon god, rat, badger, whatever it is. I really love that aspect of this world. And then if you also rope in like close relationships with nature or animals and stuff like that, I get really hooked. I get really attached to the animals in books, so I love seeing characters have these meaningful relationships with animals that they keep. And so this book, there are all kinds of monsters. So you have trolls, you have nightworms, you have, I think the monsters are called Vaesen in this world, and there are different kinds of Vaesen. You can have, like I said, you can have the nightworms, you can have frost spiders. There are things called tenors, which are like little creatures with wings and sharp teeth and stuff like that who eat teeth. And there's also like this, I kept thinking of it like a centipede type of thing, like an arthropod. So there's all kinds of creatures and they talk. So some of these creatures can swear blood oaths to their human and, defend and protect them. And it's kind of this symbiotic relationship. And I love that. I thought it was done in a really cool way. And so that's particularly a big part of the Orka story, is they play a bigger role, a more present role there. Bearded axes, sea axes, swords, shield strategy and warfare. There's so many epic battle scenes where the Battlegrim faction, even the Bloodsworn, working as one single big mass unit of shields. I just love how all of that was done. If you're into the axes and the braided beards or the mead halls or traveling through the mountains or the snow or being on the longboats on the sea, it has all of that and it's amazing. Just the cover art for this book. Look at this dragon. This is like the most badass dragon I have seen on a book cover in a while. And it's like, for me, if I see a dragon on the cover, I expect that book to have actual dragons in it. Theme-wise, by far, even across all 3 points of view, family is a huge recurring theme, revenge, and then honor and loyalty, because while each of these 3 characters find themselves on a personal quest to right the wrong that has been done against them, they get caught up in whatever mercenary faction or group that they're in, whatever tribe they are in, to accomplish that first and to keep their honor and loyalty to them before they can address their own personal quest. And so this honor, loyalty, revenge, family, these are all super important factors to each of the 3 points of view in the story. And I just loved it so much. This was, I think, like a 520, 30-page book. So it's not by any means a long book. It's so fast paced. I feel like John Gwynne left each chapter kind of on somewhat of a cliffhanger. So it kept you coming back to read it. Like I said, the most jarring thing for me was just trying to keep all of these, in my opinion, difficult names straight and trying to remember from quick chapter to quick chapter, what was happening and where we were. But like I said, I love the style of writing. I love the world building. I absolutely love the characters. I love the different plot lines and how they got woven together and how everything just came to a head there at the end. And I'm looking forward to the second book in the Bloodsworn Trilogy. I think I saw on Twitter where John Gwynne announced that he had actually finished the draft for book 2 like a couple of weeks ago already. So hopefully we're gonna start seeing that. I think it's called like Dead Gods Rising. The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. Absolutely loved it. If you're into Norse, Viking inspired fantasy, you're going to love this too. There were so many parts I highlighted just because like the gore or the imagery was just so visceral and strong, and I enjoyed it. It was a very fun read. If you're new to my channel, I hope you like and subscribe. I try and put out a video every week. Again, my name is Sandra, and hopefully I will see you soon. So like I said, this book is going to be available everywhere starting tomorrow, May 4th. So enjoy. All right, thanks. Bye.